Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. Today, we are moving on to what we call the Scientific Revolution. In fact, I don't have the Scientific Revolution written here, but I'll put it on here for your notes. Scientific Revolution. Alright, Scientific Revolution. It's kind of a big deal, guys. We are coming out of the Dark Ages, as we said. We had hit that age of exploration where Europe had gone around the world. We're starting to discover new areas. Colonies are being set up in different places. The world is coming together. But the way we think is going to be changed by this scientific revolution. We believe now, some people believe now, I guess not everybody, I can't speak about everybody, but in the educational world, you believe in science. You use the scientific method in science class. You have hypothesis, and you try to prove this theory, and do experiments, and you analyze data, and then you see if you can prove it to be true. And that is the basis of science. If you remember, though, in the Dark Ages, really all the way from, 500 AD all the way until like 1400 AD, almost 1,000 years, the number one thing was religion, was God. That was it. This is what we believe. Anything that goes against religion or God is heresy, and that is a crime. You cannot say anything that violates the church. We saw the Protestant Reformation and people questioning the church and things like that. Science is going to go along with that. As people start to have their own ideas, they start to once the Protestant Reformation happened, you could start to question things. The idea of questioning what is true, what is not true, how do we know this, why do we think this? Those are natural questions that lead right into science, and that's what's going to spur on the scientific revolution. One of the big things that does too, something that we have seen that's going to help this scientific revolution, is going to be our old friend, the printing press. As you know, the printing press is a big deal, and this printing press does a lot of things. Really, at the end of the day, the printing press, what is the most important thing that it does is that it will spread. It'll spread info. It'll spread information. So again, like we talked about with the Protestant Revolution, when you had an idea before the printing press, I had an idea. Let me get it your way. I had an idea. You might agree with it. You might disagree with it. Eventually 10 people know, but that's it. The printing press means that you can now print your ideas, print your thoughts, print your everything, and mass produce it so that everyone can read your information, what you think, hence leading to this big spread of information. So, science is going to take off during this time period because of the ability to start questioning things, the increase in education. We saw universities begin with the monks and the church. And so all this is kind of coming together, which leads us to this point of the scientific revolution. Now, let's jump into some of this stuff. So the scientific revolution, helped on by the printing press here, you can spread information, and we're good to go. So let's look at this. What are some ideas? Where do we have our ideas in the first place? The smart people of the time took all of their ideas from the Greeks. The Greeks, guess what? The Greeks were around thousands of years ago. So think about this. What people believed about science came from people that lived thousands of years ago. And the Greeks, albeit really smart, Western civilization, very great, didn't know everything. Really, Greeks had ideas, not science. All right, so as I said before, science, you need to prove things. What the Greeks did is, it was very advanced at the time. They would be like, let me look at something, and then I will try and figure out why something does something. And it's not just belief in something or whatever, but they're using their eyes to see what they think is real. And so they come up with ideas like a geo. This is going to be a fun word for you guys. So the Greeks had ideas, not really science. They didn't really prove things. They just thought They knew, but they were way smarter than the people of the Middle Ages. But let's take a geocentric view, for example. Geocentric means the Greeks visualized they would stand there and watch the sun come up, go over them, and go down on the other side. Guess what? Am I moving? No, to them, they don't see it. Do we know that the earth rotates? Yes, we do now. The Greeks saw themselves standing still and watching things move around them, which means that they think, and what a geocentric view is, they think the earth is the center of the universe, which makes sense based on the way they do things, right? If I'm standing here and the earth is rotating as I know, do I feel it? And am I like, whoa? No, I'm not. I am just standing here and I'm watching these heavenly bodies move around, go over this way, stars at different times of the year in different places, which would lead me to think that I am standing still and everything is moving around me, which would put me in the center of the universe, and it would look something like this. Here's Earth, and there's the sun, and there's the next planet, and there's the next one, and they go around the Earth. Again, when you just visualize it and just look and make this theory, that does make sense. However, as we know, this is not the case. The sun is the center for us. And so what we are going to see is, during this time period, one of our scientists is going to come up with our heliocentric view. But let me make sure I spell it right, because I always get this word, heliocentric, is the sun is the center. And if you've had science class in an elementary and things like that, you will know that the planets rotate around the sun. So it's a very complicated system, different than just we are still and things go around us. The Earth is rotating, the planets are going around the sun. There's a lot of things that are in motion in space, in our universe, and this is what we're going to start to discover. The problem is, everything made sense with the geocentric view, right? So the church could say, listen, Earth is the center of the universe. God made Earth because he loves us and he put us in the middle. But all of a sudden scientists are like, we're not the center of the universe. And that goes against kind of the teachings of religion. So scientists are going to have a hard time trying to work and try and make their ideas and prove their theories and have it be accepted by the church or not be heretics, because there is such a strong belief in religion still. But the heliocentric, geocentric view is going to be one thing. Let's take a look at quickly this. As I said, but I want to have it on your notes. Scientific method. In science class, as we just said, you use this to prove your hypothesis. Scientific method is the process to prove. You can just leave it at that. We leave it a short definition. It is the process that you use to prove your hypothesis, your ideas, your theories. You come up with these ideas, and then you have to go through the scientific method to show that that is actually true and has proof. And so this is what they're going to use. These scientists are going to use the scientific method to prove what's going on. So they start to have new inventions like telescopes and stuff like that will help them out, which is good. But let's take a quick look at a couple of these guys, and then we're going to do a quick quiz. But we'll start with mathematicians are going to play a big role here. Let me make sure I get everyone like I would do in class. Kepler's going to be into astronomy. Actually, they all have in particular parts of science. So, like Isaac Newton, for example, he's going to be big on the idea of gravity. Gravity is what is used to explain, for example, explain motion in the universe. In the sky, why do things do things? If I drop this, why does it go to the center? The Earth is attracting stuff. That is gravity keeping me on the planet. I'm not floating up in the air. Gravity also keeps the moon coming around the Earth. Gravity also keeps us central around the sun. So the idea of gravity is the term that is used by Isaac Newton to explain how all of these heavenly bodies work together. Galileo and Copernicus and Kepler are all going to be about, the stars, the sun, the motion of the earth, all of the stuff where they come up together in lockstep, like one after another, come together with showing our heliocentric view. But I'm going to leave these guys to you because I want to do a quiz today. Kepler is using motion about the sun and going around the center. I don't want to give you too much because I want you to find out about these guys. So that's what we're going to do. That's going to be your assignment today. But first, let's do our quiz. I mean, we are going along. Like the scientific revolution does take a little time. So, I'll give you a little bit of a hint with Isaac Newton gravity. But looking up these different scientists, I'll tell you about them in a second, like who's who and how to look it up. But let's do the quiz first. Let's do a quiz first, 1 through 5. And then what I'll do is, I'll put this right here, and let's do our quiz. All right, here we go. Let's get to it, because I don't want to take too long for you guys and make you bored. Sorry. There were certain ones I wanted to ask you today. Number 1. We'll keep it relatively close now. I'll go back. All right, number 1. This is what the trade route was called between Europe and Africa and the Americas. Europe, Africa, Americas. That was a trade route. What was that trade route called for number 1? What was that trade route called for number 1? This, number 2. So I keep track. Number 2 is what you call a place where people have moved to from a parent country and now live away from the country that they came from. What do you call that place that they have moved to and now start a new life? For number 2, what do you call that? Let's go with, there was one other, oh yeah. That's what I wanted to ask. But I talked about him and I made sure. This is the explorer who was the first person to circumnavigate the globe, which means to sail around the earth. Who was the explorer, who was the first person to sail around the earth? And now for these last ones, I'm going to go, oh, you know what? No, I'm not, because we haven't done this in a while. All right. Number 4, let's keep it relatively new. Number 4 is the idea that it has already been determined if you are going to go to heaven or you are going to go to hell when you die. The idea that it is already determined before you are born where you are going to end up. What is that idea? It came from the Protestant Reformation. And since we're keeping it around ourselves, why not? Let's just keep it in the Protestant Reformation. I feel like we went over a lot recently. Number 5 is Martin Luther challenged the church. He did not agree with the Catholic Church, the idea of indulgences and selling of them. So he came up with his reasons, his arguments, his differences of opinion with the church, and had it printed on the printing press, and it was all over. He nailed it to a church door. What was the name of what he created? What was the name of the list of problems he had with the Catholic Church? That is number 5. Now to get to your assignment. Since this is I feel like this has gone long today. Sorry. here's what we're going to do, because we have a lot of scientists. These are the most famous scientists. Johannes Kepler is 1. You have Galileo is 2. Isaac Newton, there's 3. And Copernicus, 4. You have 4 scientists that you are going to look at and examine today. And because there's 4 of them, what I want you to do is give me, let's do this, 5 W's on each. You are going to research them in these 5 W ideas. You're going to tell me, who they are, who, what, where, when, and why, just in case you need to see it again, which I always do. But you're going to tell me about these guys. Who are they? What did they do? Where were they from? When were they doing it? Why did they do it? Like, what did they find out? Like, what was their drive? Any of that stuff. So, there's gravity. There's gravity working. So, you got these 4 scientists, and you are going to give me the basic rundown about each of them, and that is your assignment today. Because we do got to keep it moving, because we're getting close to the end of the year, guys. We're getting down to it. So, get this to me today for attendance and participation purposes. And then on that note, I will see you next class.